My name is Tina Weaver, and I'm 32 years old. If you'd met my family at a barbecue or a holiday party, you would have thought we were normal. My mom, Patricia, always had a warm smile ready for guests. My dad, Dave, loved telling stories that made him sound like the steady backbone of the household. And my older sister, Hannah, she could light up a room like she owned it. People used to tell us all the time, "You're so lucky. Your family is so close." I learned early that close doesn't always mean fair. Because in our house, love didn't spread evenly. It poured in one direction, toward Hannah, like gravity itself had made its decision. Hannah is 35, 3 years older than me, and she's been the golden child since her first breath. She didn't just get special treatment. She got a whole mythology built around her. Hannah wasn't stubborn. She was strong-willed. She wasn't selfish. She was confident. When she wanted something, my parents didn't ask if she deserved it. They asked how fast they could make it happen. Then there was me, always in the middle, always watching, always understanding that speaking up would only make the air colder. And then there was our youngest sister, Lily, who is 22 now, 10 years younger than Hannah. 10 years of arriving late to a family story that had already been written. Lily grew up like a quiet shadow in the corner of the frame, present but never centered. The favoritism wasn't subtle. It was structural. It was in the walls, in the routines, in the way my parents' eyes lit up for Hannah and dimmed for everyone else. When Hannah turned 16, my parents bought her a brand new Honda Civic, paid for outright. Not "we found a deal," new. Not "it's used but reliable," new. Brand new, shiny paint, clean interior, the kind of car you can smell before you even sit down. They delivered it on her birthday like she was a celebrity. I still remember that morning. How Dad was pacing around the driveway like he was about to present an award. How Mom kept smoothing her hair and checking her phone because she'd hired a photographer, an actual photographer, for Hannah's reaction. The neighbors came out because of course they did. A car with a giant red bow parked in front of our house tends to draw a crowd. Hannah stepped outside in her robe, gasped, put a hand to her mouth like she was in a commercial, and started crying. Big, pretty tears that Mom immediately called happy tears and Dad caught on camera. Hannah hugged them both, laughing, then started posting the photos before the bow was even untied. Blessed, best parents ever. Dreams do come true. 2 years later, when I turned 16, my parents sat me down at the kitchen table like it was a performance review. Dad said, "A car teaches responsibility, Tina. Responsibility is earned." Mom nodded, serious, like she was signing off on a corporate policy. Then Dad slid something across the table. A bus pass. Not even joking. A laminated bus pass in a little paper sleeve, like it was some kind of privilege. And Lily? Lily didn't get the lecture. She didn't get the bus pass. Lily got nothing. By the time Lily hit her teens, my parents had perfected the art of ignoring her needs in a way that didn't look cruel from the outside. They'd say vague things like, "We'll see," or "maybe later," until she stopped asking. Even our bedrooms told the story. Hannah had the master bedroom upstairs, her own bathroom, a walk-in closet big enough to store a wardrobe that honestly looked like a boutique. She had a desk, a sitting area, and enough space that when friends came over, they'd say things like, "Oh my God, this is like a suite." My room was a converted storage space, the kind of room that still smelled faintly of mothballs and old cardboard. No matter how many candles I lit, the air always carried that stale reminder, "You're temporary." Lily got the smallest room in the house, barely space for a twin bed and a dresser. When she stretched her arms out, she could almost touch both walls. Christmas mornings were the worst, because that's when the favoritism became a show. Every year, Hannah would come downstairs in designer pajamas Mom bought specifically for the photos. She'd position herself by the tree where the light hit her just right. Dad would be filming before she even sat down. Mom documented every gift like it was a historic moment. The tearing paper, the gasp, the squeal, the pose. A MacBook, an iPhone. A weekend trip. Designer clothes that still had the store tissue paper tucked inside like a secret. And Lily and I? We sat on the couch in our regular clothes, waiting. We opened our gifts when the camera wasn't pointed at us, during the commercial breaks in Hannah's holiday production. I remember one Christmas especially clearly. I was 17, Lily was 9. That was the year Hannah got her Civic on Christmas morning. Same routine, bow, photographer, neighbors. My parents acted like they were unveiling a spaceship. Lily and I opened our gifts in the kitchen while everyone was outside admiring Hannah's new car. I got a calculator for my engineering classes. Lily got a pack of colored pencils. Not fancy ones, just a small box from the drugstore. She held them like they were fragile. Then she looked at me with those wide eyes that always seemed too old for her face and asked, "Do you think Hannah will let me ride in the car sometime?" I didn't want to crush her, but I also couldn't lie. "Probably not," I said softly. "Hannah doesn't like her stuff getting messed up." Lily nodded, like she'd expected that answer. Then she put the pencils back into the packaging carefully and said, "I'm going to save them for something special so they last longer." She was 9 years old and already rationing happiness because she knew there wouldn't be more. Here's the part that still twists my stomach. My parents weren't evil people. They weren't the kind of parents who screamed or hit or openly insulted us. They were just blind. Blind in the way that's almost worse, because it comes wrapped in smiles and excuses. When Hannah got a B in high school chemistry, my parents hired a private tutor. When I got straight A's, they said, "That's what we expect from you, Tina." When Lily struggled with math, they told her to try harder, like effort was something you could just pour out of an empty cup. Hannah went to a private college fully funded. Tuition, room and board, spending money. She majored in communications and partied her way through. My parents called it networking. I went to State University on scholarships and student loans. Lily ended up at community college, not because she wasn't capable, but because she didn't have the money. She worked full-time, took night classes, weekends, whatever she could fit around her warehouse job in inventory management. No help from our parents, no safety net, just grit. And the older Lily got, the more she shrank emotionally around them, not because she wanted to, but because it was safer that way. Like she'd learned that being invisible hurt less than being hopeful. That's what people don't understand about golden child families. It isn't just about who gets the bigger gifts. It's about who gets to take up space. Hannah didn't just want more. She wanted to be the center of everything, always. And when she wasn't, she found a way to make sure she would. For years, I told myself it was just how our family was, that we'd survived it, that Lily would grow out of it, that Hannah might mellow with age. I didn't realize we were building toward a moment where Lily would finally have something that was hers, something earned, something undeniable. And Hannah would decide she couldn't stand not being the headline. I didn't know yet that Lily's biggest day was about to be swallowed whole. But looking back, the signs were always there. Lily had been talking about her graduation long before anyone else bothered to listen. She didn't talk about it loudly. Lily never did. She mentioned it the way someone mentions a fragile hope, carefully, almost apologetically, like she was afraid of jinxing it. Community college hadn't been easy for her. She started late because she had to work full-time first, saving every spare dollar just to afford enrollment. While her friends were figuring out dorms and meal plans, Lily was figuring out shift swaps and night classes. She worked at a warehouse, inventory management, long hours, concrete floors, repetitive work that left her feet aching and her hands sore. Then she'd come home, shower, eat whatever was cheapest that week, and sit down with textbooks until her eyes burned. 4 years of that. 4 years of saying no to trips, no to weekends, no to anything that didn't directly move her closer to finishing. She maintained a 3.8 GPA while working 40 hours a week. No parental help, no financial cushion, no one cheering her on. Except me. Her graduation was scheduled for May 15th. She circled that date on her calendar in thick blue marker, like she was afraid it might disappear. She bought her cap and gown months in advance. When the box arrived, she didn't even open it right away. She just set it on her bed and stared at it for a while. "I can't believe this is actually happening," she told me once, smiling in that quiet way that always made me want to protect her from the world. She sent out formal invitations in January, real ones, with RSVP cards, because Lily wanted to do it right. She wanted to feel, just once, like her accomplishment mattered enough to be acknowledged properly. Everyone RSVP'd yes. Mom and Dad said they were proud of her. Hannah even texted Lily, wouldn't miss it. For a brief, dangerous moment, Lily believed them. Then, in March, Hannah announced her engagement. It happened at a family dinner that was so aggressively over the top, it almost felt like satire. Hannah insisted Mom's favorite upscale Italian restaurant close off an entire back room just for us. When Lily and I arrived, there were flowers on every table, candles everywhere, a champagne fountain bubbling in the corner. A violinist. An actual violinist. Hannah had even hired a photographer, again, to document the surprise. Her boyfriend Brandon stood next to her looking vaguely terrified. He's a decent guy, honestly. Quiet. Works in insurance. The kind of man who looks like he'd be happiest grilling burgers in a backyard, not starring in a staged engagement reveal. But Hannah thrived in production. She made us sit through a 3-course meal, while she dropped hints every 5 minutes, touching her left hand, adjusting her ring finger so the light caught just right. Lily sat beside me, still in her warehouse work clothes because she hadn't had time to change. She picked at her pasta, exhaustion etched into her face, while Hannah glowed in a designer dress that probably cost more than Lily made in a month. After dessert, Hannah stood up and tapped her glass like she was about to give a wedding toast. The violinist started playing something soft and romantic. The photographer shifted into position. Hannah launched into a speech about destiny, about soulmates, about how Brandon had proposed at sunset on a California beach during a weekend getaway. She talked about how blessed she was. Then she held up her hand. The ring was massive, at least 2 carats. It sparkled so aggressively it almost looked fake. Everyone congratulated her. Mom cried. Dad shook Brandon's hand like he'd just closed a business deal. I congratulated them too, because I actually liked Brandon. Lily hugged Hannah and told her she was happy for her. And then Hannah smiled that smile, the one that always came right before something shifted. She announced the wedding date, May 15th. For a moment, no one spoke. It was like the air had been sucked out of the room. I looked at Lily. Her face drained of color so fast it scared me. Her shoulders slumped, like something inside her had just folded in on itself. She stared down at her plate, blinking hard. Hannah laughed lightly, like the silence was just part of the drama. She said it was the only date the venue had available, that they'd gotten a great deal because of a cancellation, that it was fate. Mom immediately started talking about flowers and dresses. Dad asked about the guest list. Nobody mentioned Lily's graduation. Not one person. Except me. I asked Hannah if she realized that was Lily's graduation day. She waved her hand dismissively. Lily will understand, she said. Graduations happen all the time. Weddings are once in a lifetime. She even added, the ceremony is only an hour. She can skip the reception. Lily stood up so suddenly her chair scraped against the floor. I need to use the restroom, she said quietly. I watched her grab her purse. She didn't go to the restroom. I found her sitting in her car in the parking lot, hands on the steering wheel, tears sliding silently down her face. Not dramatic sobbing, just resignation. She told me she was fine, that Hannah was right, that weddings were more important. She said she'd skip her graduation. It's not like anyone would notice if I wasn't there anyway, she whispered. That was the moment something inside me snapped. Not anger, not yelling, just clarity. I told Lily she wasn't skipping anything, that she had earned this day, that she was walking across that stage whether anyone else showed up or not. She smiled at me, small, sad. You're sweet, Tina, she said, but we both know how this works. I told her to trust me. She didn't believe me. I didn't blame her. But that night, after I dropped her off, I sat in my car for a long time and realized something terrifying and freeing at the same time. I was done watching Lily disappear to make Hannah comfortable. The next morning, I started making calls. The first call I made was to Aunt Robin. She's my dad's sister, the one adult in our childhood who always seemed to notice things the rest of the family pretended not to see. Robin was the aunt who made sure Lily had an extra gift under the tree. The one who asked me real questions about school instead of nodding absently while watching Hannah across the room. When she answered, I didn't ease into it. I laid everything out. Lily's graduation date, the invitations sent months ago, Hannah choosing the same day on purpose, and Lily already planning to disappear quietly from her own achievement. Robin was silent for a few seconds. Then she said some very unflattering things about Hannah's sense of entitlement. What do you need from me? She asked. I told her the truth. I didn't want to tell anyone what to do. I just wanted the family to know what they were actually choosing between. Robin exhaled slowly. Leave it with me. Next, I called Uncle Frank, my mom's brother. Frank is the kind of man who runs his own business and has no patience for nonsense. Growing up, he treated all 3 of us exactly the same, which, in hindsight, was probably why Hannah never liked him much. I explained everything. He didn't hesitate. That's disrespectful, he said flatly, and deliberate. He told me he'd talked to my parents, said they needed to hear some things they'd avoided for decades. Over the next 2 weeks, I had similar conversations with cousins, second cousins, family friends who'd known us since we were kids. I never told anyone not to go to Hannah's wedding. I didn't guilt them. I didn't push. I just told the truth, that Lily had worked 4 years for this, that she'd invited everyone 6 months earlier, that everyone had already committed before Hannah even got engaged, that the wedding invitations hadn't mentioned the conflict at all. Most people had no idea. Hannah had simply assumed everyone would rearrange their lives for her. The responses were almost all the same: discomfort, anger, recognition. The cousins who'd grown up watching Hannah get everything while Lily got nothing were especially upset. They'd seen this pattern their whole lives. They didn't need convincing, just confirmation. Meanwhile, Hannah flooded social media with wedding updates, dress fittings, cake tastings, venue tours. Every post carefully curated, every caption dripping with excitement. Lily stopped using social media entirely. She still went to work, still went to class, but the light had gone out of her eyes. She stopped mentioning graduation altogether, correcting herself mid-sentence if it slipped out. 3 weeks before May 15th, the RSVPs started changing. Aunt Robin called Mom first. She calmly explained that she wouldn't be attending the wedding, that she'd already committed to Lily's graduation and wouldn't be changing plans. Mom tried to argue, said family should support Hannah on her special day. Robin replied, "That logic applies to Lily, too." When Mom accused her of being selfish and ruining the wedding, Robin said something that spread through the family like wildfire. If one absent guest can ruin the wedding, maybe Hannah should rethink her priorities. Uncle Frank called next. Same message. Then the cousins. One by one. Aunts, uncles, family friends. They weren't cruel. They weren't dramatic. They were just firm. They wished Hannah well. They said they loved her. But they'd already committed to Lily's graduation, and they were standing by that. Hannah's guest list began collapsing. 4 days before the wedding, my phone rang at midnight. It was Hannah. She was sobbing so hard I could barely understand her. Her dream wedding was falling apart. People were abandoning her. How could they do this to her? What had I done? I let her cry, let her spiral, let her frame herself as the victim she'd always believed she was. When she finally paused for breath, I asked her one question. "Did you know it was Lily's graduation day when you chose May 15th? The silence answered for her. She'd known. She'd chosen it anyway, fully expecting the family to prove once again that she came first. This time they didn't. She screamed, accused me of jealousy, of sabotage, of ruining her happiness. I listened. Then I told her I hadn't turned anyone against her. I just made sure people had all the information. She hung up on me. 2 days before the wedding, Mom and Dad showed up at my apartment. They didn't knock politely. Dad launched into a rehearsed speech about family loyalty and disappointment. Mom cried about Hannah's pain. When they finished, I asked them a simple question. When is Lily's graduation? They looked at each other. Neither of them knew. That told me everything. May 15th arrived quietly. No dramatic sunrise, no thunder, just a soft morning light slipping through my apartment blinds like it didn't know this was the day everything would change. I woke up early, put on my best suit, and drove to Lily's place. She opened the door, wearing a blue dress she'd bought weeks earlier, back when she still thought our parents might show up. Her hair was done. Makeup light, but careful. She looked like someone trying not to hope too much. "You ready?" I asked. She nodded, then hesitated. "Do you really think anyone's coming?" she asked, fingers twisting around the edge of her graduation cap. "I know they are," I said. She didn't answer, just got in the car. The drive to campus was quiet. Lily kept adjusting her cap, taking it off, putting it back on, like she wasn't sure she deserved to wear it yet. When we arrived, graduates were already lining up outside the auditorium. Lily checked in and was told to head to her row. Before she walked away, she turned back and hugged me tightly. "Thank you," she whispered, "for being here." "Always," I said. Then I went inside to find a seat. And that's when I saw them. Aunt Robin had saved an entire row. Uncle Frank was there with his wife and kids. Cousins I hadn't seen in months. Second cousins who'd driven hours. Family friends who'd watched Lily grow up quietly in the background. They were holding signs. "Proud of you, Lily." My throat closed. Our parents' seats were empty. I'd expected that. Hannah had managed to pull them back to her side at the last minute. They were probably sitting at a venue somewhere, pretending nothing was wrong. But everyone else was here. The ceremony began. The dean gave a speech about perseverance, about students who worked full-time jobs, who faced obstacles, who kept going even when no one was cheering for them. I watched Lily in the third row of graduates. She scanned the crowd nervously, clearly expecting to see no one she knew. Then her eyes landed on us. I watched the moment it hit her. Shock, confusion, disbelief. Then joy. Her hand flew to her mouth. Tears filled her eyes. She looked at the girl beside her, pointed toward our section. The girl looked and immediately hugged her. Lily started crying. Happy tears. When they called her name, our entire row stood up. Aunt Robin screamed. Uncle Frank whistled. Cousins waved signs. The whole auditorium knew Lily mattered. She walked across that stage, smiling so wide it looked like it hurt, accepted her diploma, and waved at us like she couldn't believe we were real. After the ceremony, we took her to a restaurant Robin had reserved. Nothing fancy, just a private room filled with blue and gold balloons, a banner that read, "Congratulations, Lily," and a cake waiting at the center of the table. Lily froze in the doorway. Then she cried again. Everyone hugged her. Everyone told her how proud they were. Frank handed her a card stuffed with money the family had pooled together for books or life or whatever comes next. She tried to refuse. Frank closed her hand around it. "Family takes care of family," he said. "The right way." We stayed for hours, laughing, eating, celebrating. My phone buzzed nonstop. I didn't look at it. That night, after everyone left, I finally checked. Hannah's wedding had collapsed. The guest count dropped so low the venue forced them into a smaller space. Vendors canceled, photos ruined. Mom and Dad cried through the reception. Hannah's final message read, "I hope you're happy. You destroyed my wedding." I didn't reply. I was happy. Not because anything of hers fell apart, but because Lily finally understood something she should have known her whole life. She mattered. The quiet after May 15th felt strange, like the air after a storm, clear, still, and charged with everything that had already broken. The first message from Mom came the next morning. It was long, emotional, carefully worded to sound reasonable, while saying absolutely nothing new. She wrote about disappointment, about family unity, about how my actions had created a divide that might never heal. She said she didn't recognize me anymore, that I'd prioritized spite over love. Dad followed with his own email, shorter, sharper. He said I'd embarrassed the family, that people were talking, that I'd made Hannah's wedding a humiliation. I read both messages twice. Then I replied with one sentence. I prioritized the family member who had been ignored for 22 years. Neither of them responded. Hannah tried next. A few weeks after the wedding, or what passed for it, she called me. Her tone was softer this time, careful, like someone stepping onto thin ice. She said she understood now why people were upset, that she should have been more considerate of Lily's graduation, that she wanted to apologize. But not to Lily, to me. She asked if I'd help facilitate a conversation, if I'd be there to mediate, to smooth things over. I told her no. I told her that the apology needed to go to Lily, and that it needed to happen without me cushioning the impact. She went quiet. Then she said she wasn't ready for that. I told her that was her choice. She never called Lily. Aunt Robin later told me Hannah complained about how unfair everything was, how she'd been punished for one mistake, how the family had turned against her over a simple scheduling conflict. Robin laughed in her face. She told Hannah the truth no one else ever had, that this wasn't one mistake. It was the natural consequence of 35 years of entitlement, of assuming everyone else's milestones were negotiable, of believing love was something she deserved more than anyone else. After that, things shifted. Not dramatically, not overnight, but noticeably. Extended family started reaching out to Lily directly. Invitations went to her first. People checked her schedule before planning events. She went from invisible to valued, not because she demanded it, but because people finally saw what they'd been complicit in ignoring. Hannah noticed. Her social media posts turned passive-aggressive. Quotes about loyalty, about fake people, about being misunderstood. No one engaged. Her comment sections grew quieter. Meanwhile, Lily thrived. She got a better job using her degree, moved into a nicer apartment, started talking, out loud, about going back for her bachelor's. She stopped apologizing for taking up space, started posting photos where she looked confident instead of cautious. The difference in her was night and day. 6 months after the wedding, Mom called again. She said they wanted a family dinner, all 5 of us, to clear the air and move forward. I asked one question. Have you apologized to Lily yet? She said they were waiting to do it in person. I told her that wasn't good enough, that Lily deserved a direct apology without an audience, that using a family dinner to force reconciliation was just another way of prioritizing Hannah's comfort over Lily's feelings. Mom said I was being difficult. I said they'd been avoiding difficult conversations for 22 years. Neither Lily nor I went to that dinner. Instead, we ordered takeout at her place, watched movies, laughed, had a night that didn't revolve around managing anyone else's emotions. Hannah left that family dinner early. Apparently being in the hot seat, even briefly, was unbearable. Dad called me afterward, said I was tearing the family apart, that I needed to be the bigger person and help fix things. I asked him why it was always on Lily and me to be bigger. why we were expected to swallow hurt to keep everyone else comfortable. He didn't have an answer, because the truth was the family had been broken for years. I'd just stopped pretending otherwise. Lily told me once, months later, that her graduation changed everything, that seeing people show up for her, really show up, made her realize she wasn't asking for too much, that she wasn't invisible by nature, that she'd just been surrounded by people who benefited from her silence. She said it gave her permission to believe she deserved good things. That made everything worth it. Not the fallout, not the ruined wedding, not proving a point, but watching my sister finally understand her own worth. Hannah and Brandon moved out of state not long after. A fresh start, Hannah called it. Running away, Aunt Robin called it. I see Hannah maybe once a year now. Family events she can't avoid. We're polite, distant. She still hasn't apologized to Lily. She probably never will. Mom and Dad try to split holidays now. They come to my place for part of it, go to Hannah's for the rest, trying to balance things in a way they never did when we were kids. Too little, too late. But it's something. Last Thanksgiving, everyone was at my place. Extended family, cousins, friends. We went around the table saying what we were thankful for. When it was Lily's turn, she said she was thankful for family who showed up when it mattered, for people who proved that hard work deserved recognition, for being chosen. She didn't look at Mom or Dad. She didn't have to. Hannah left early that night, said she wasn't feeling well. No one tried to stop her. People ask me sometimes if I regret how everything went down, if I wish I'd let Hannah have her wedding without interference. Honestly, no, because Lily walked across that stage knowing she mattered. And that's something no one will ever take away from her.